Look at this. Here's two more. Well, that's right. I don't. That's what I tried to tell you. She don't listen.
She does to me. She is so.
Everybody ready? Good evening. It is 5:30, so we'll call the regular council meeting to order. I'd remind you to turn your cell phone to silent or vibrate, and then let's please all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chris, would you go ahead and take the roll?
Councilmember Myers?
Here.
Councilmember Berg? Here. Councilmember Dalby?
Here.
Councilmember Rowe?
Here.
Councilmember Stevens?
There.
Mayor Lazio?
Here.
Items on consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 8 on February 18th, 2020 as presented. Approve the purchase of a new Gorman Roop pump for the grit system at the Water Pollution Control Facility from DJ Gongol and Associates for the price of $5,927.60. Resolution number 38, 2020, setting March 17th, 2020 as the date of a public hearing on the proposed adoption of the fiscal year 2021 city budget. Resolution number 39, 2020, accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the waste gas burner replacement and relocation project. Beer and/or liquor applications for Hy-Vee Drug Store at 1140 North Jefferson Street, Noe's Bar and Grill at 101 South Madison, Mad Avenue Quick Shop at 405 South Madison, Pizza Hut number 1 at 1247 Theater Drive, all applications pending final inspections.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Okay.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Item C will need an approval for tonight's agenda. Move the approval of the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
At this time, I would call on City Administrator Phil Rath, and we can introduce our guest who is here tonight. I think it's Scott. Are you going to step up to the microphone, please? You want to make any comments?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Scott Helgren from the Bridgeview Center, and he will be presenting the 2019 Bridgeview Center Annual Report.
Thank you, Phil, and good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. We have recently completed our annual report at Bridgeview Center, and I just want to take a few minutes and share some of the highlights, both throughout calendar year 2019 and then our fiscal year 2019. First, just kind of touch on 3 larger projects that we completed over the course of 2019. And one of our most significant ones was we launched a new brand, a new logo, and a new website for Bridgeview Center in February 2019, and we finished that project up in the summer of 2019. We worked with Neapolitan Labs and Brian McMillan, an Ottumwa native out of Des Moines. We chose them for several reasons, but one most importantly is Brian is an Ottumwa native, has a little bit of that hometown pride, and we certainly see that in his work, what he's done for us. The rebranding has had a very positive and significant impact for us, and will certainly continue to pay dividends well into the future. We would like to publicly thank the Wapello County Foundation, Legacy Foundation's Bright Ideas Enrichment Fund, and also Bridgeview Center Inc.'s Capital Improvement Fund for their contributions and financial support to the project. One of our second biggest initiatives is certainly a long-term vision and initiative for our governing board, Bridgeview Center Inc. And we supported Bridgeview Center Inc. And assisted them in the launch of a brand new capital campaign in May 2019. And the end goal is to create a sustaining capital improvement endowment account to assist in covering all the future capital improvements projects at Bridgeview Center, such as HVAC, larger equipment expenses, and larger, more significant repairs. Our Bridgeview Center team would certainly like to thank our board members and the Capital Campaign Steering Committee members for their hard work to get this launched and rolled out in 2019, and certainly for their continued efforts as we continue on this process throughout 2020. And lastly, and certainly a very important goal for us is the ongoing work that I've been working with several of the city staff on. That is our Bridgeview Center Hotel project. A couple photos there you can see of where the proposed hotel and some rough images. We certainly believe that the hotel is a game changer for Bridgeview Center and our multi-day convention and conference business. This hotel will make Ottumwa a more viable market for multi-day business, and certainly put us on an even playing field, on a level playing field with all of our competitors that we compete with for state and regional business. It is the #1 priority for meeting planners and association event planners when looking at host cities for their events. An attached hotel to Bridgeview Center is the future, and it's something that we certainly need. Here's just a quick caption. I know this was in your packets, but kind of a fun slide. And for me, when I look back over the year at everything we've done, certainly several memorable events that we've had. Sold out Mannheim Steamroller Christmas Show, Red Green, PJ Masks Live, Bull Riders of America, craft shows, True Rev MMA fights, John Deere meetings. I mean, everything across the board from private to public. Our mission statement at Bridgeview Center is that Bridgeview Center is a regional multi-purpose venue that delivers outstanding experiences to its citizens by providing entertainment, meeting space, and quality events to enhance the quality of life throughout Southeast Iowa. As a regional venue, we will create a positive economic impact for the city of Ottumwa. We've delivered 1.595 million guests to our front doors since we opened in January of 2007. We've hosted 6,567 events since January 2007. And our total economic impact to our Ottumwa community in 2019 was $8.9 million. We believe that we've accomplished our mission. Our primary goal is quality of life. We were built and are here to improve the quality of life for our Ottumwa community and all residents in Wapello County. Our second goal is to be an economic driver for our Ottumwa community, and we have definitely achieved this goal with an $8.9 million economic impact to our Ottumwa community. I would like to just make one note. In almost a year ago, in January 25th, 2019, Bridgeview Center hosted the premiere showing of the North American tour of PJ Masks Live. This one specific event was in our community for 13 days and had a direct spend of $100,000 in our community during their 13-day run. Just between the Bridgeview Center spend and their hotel spend alone, that was approximately $60,000 to $65,000. The remaining $35,000 comes in other spending that they did throughout the community. Here's a few graphs for you. In 2019, we held 586 events. We had 145,000 people come through our front doors in 2019. This is a graph that we kind of use to help compare us a little bit when we look at event and use days with how busy we are and how that's been trending. But we had a total of 730 event and use days. Basically what that means, if we were just to do simply one day or one event per day, it would take us 730 days to do what we do in a year. So we kind of measure basically how many days that we have multiple events using our facility. Basically a pie chart that breaks down kind of a makeup of the various different types of events we hold. And a few other graphs just to compare the types and attendance coming from the different market segments that we serve on a monthly basis. When you look at our financial performance for fiscal year 2019, we officially met our fiscal year 2019 operating budget by $110. That is a $40,000 improvement in net operating income compared to fiscal year 2018. So a nice positive improvement, and we're certainly grateful that we met and achieved our budgetary goals. Certainly besides the events and what we're doing, we are certainly very active and involved in the community. Here's just a list of several boards and groups and segments that our entire team at Bridgeview Center is a part of. Myself, back on July 1st of 2019, I was nominated to serve a 2-year term on the International Association of Venue Managers Board of Directors with our world headquarters in Dallas, Texas. That's certainly, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. It has been a very positive experience and certainly allows me to grow in my professional career and continue to develop some relationships that certainly benefit us here at Bridgeview Center. Some community contributions. That's a listing of all the nonprofits that we have partnerships with, and we have basically helped them out in numerous ways. Obviously, just with loading docks that we have at Bridgeview Center, we annually allow the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to unload their Girl Scout cookies, unload all the popcorn and stuff that Boy Scouts do, and then they sort those into piles in our expo hall, and then all the Boy Scouts and Girl Scout club, kids and clubs come in and pick all that up to distribute it out to the community. We work with numerous nonprofits, and that's certainly one small way that we can give back to our community. In 2019, we had 36 community civic events, occupying a total of 42 event and use days. Many, if not all of these events, are receiving some type of reduced or basically free rent to use Bridgeview Center. 11,549 people attended community civic events in 2019, and that makes up about 6.1% of our total events. There's just an organizational chart of our team. Our Bridgeview Center consists of 9 full-time employees, and we have well over 100 part-timers on our team. And certainly, I think one of the key factors on this is certainly at the very top of our organizational chart is the residents of Ottumwa and Wapello County, and we're constantly very aware of that. And basically, we are here to serve all the residents throughout both Ottumwa and Wapello County. Here's a list of our board members for Bridgeview Center, Inc. And the last few pages here is just kind of a recap of our year and a highlight with some of the headlines that we're grateful for with the Courier. Certainly PJ Masks, the Oak Ridge Boys, Rotary Chicken Barbecue. Whoops. Hairball is always a favorite. We had Bill Engvall. We hosted WHO TV 13's RV TV. The circus. Of course, bull riding comes to town, and we take the cowboys out into the classrooms around the community and let them visit with the students in several schools. The pages for Penny's book sale. And that's just a quick summary. We had a very, very busy year. 2020 certainly is holding its own. We've been super busy. But at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have about Bridgeview Center.
Councilman, go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation, Scott. Could you go back to the annual income statement that you had up there? Am I reading that right, that you have no concession, food and beverage concession income, or is all of it represented in that catering? What's the difference between the catering and the concessions?
It's basically that's just a change throughout the middle of the fiscal year. We are now recording our income and breaking it up under concessions and catering, so we can on more of an annual basis have a better breakdown of that. Prior to that, it was all going under catering revenue. So
in
all food and
2019,
beverage,
it was in catering, and then 2020 going forward, it's going to be broken out.
Yes, it will
Okay.
be broken up.
Perfect.
And we made that change, so that's why it's shown that way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Scott? Well, certainly want to thank you, Scott. It's a good update and good packet for the council. And I know we have Councilman Dalby and Councilman Councilperson Berg, who give a lot of time to Bridgeview, so we appreciate hearing about your successes this year.
No, thank you. And I have one final presentation we have for the city. I also have Mr. Dennis Hunger, who is the vice chair of Bridgeview Center, Inc. It has been an annual tradition, and one thing that Bridgeview Center, Inc. does, and one of their goals is to work with the city to help offset the operating support for Bridgeview Center. So on behalf of Bridgeview Center, Inc., both Dennis and myself would like to present a check of $150,000 to the city of Ottumwa. The real check is right there. Let's go up. But certainly, BBC is proud to do this. So they certainly support Bridgeview Center, and we're happy to donate this back to the city of Ottumwa.
Might turn that around so that people in the audience and the media can see that. Thank you both very much for that. We appreciate that. That certainly will help us, and look forward to a long-standing relationship with Bridgeview and with Venue Works.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item E. Unless, Phil, is there anything else you want to add? Nothing else on, okay. Item E is an opportunity for anybody that wants to address an item on the agenda. You need to fill out a card and give it to one of our staff, and they'll bring it up to the desk here. Has anybody filled out a card for the night? Okay. Okay, then let's go to item F.
Car wash contract for the Ottumwa Police Department. Recommendation, award the contract to Ottumwa Wash Express at 2512 North Court for 70% off face value of any car wash purchased for a period of 24 months for the Ottumwa Police Department.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay. Any questions for the chief on this?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a 24-month contract which may be renewed for an additional 24 months with approval of both parties. The Ottumwa Wash Express will provide a card which the police department will load funds onto for officers to use to wash patrol vehicles in a convenient and accessible method. The city received 2 bids.
Any questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, chief.
Informational update on Woodland Avenue reconstruction project. Recommendation, provide an update for city council members on the scope of the project of Woodland Avenue reconstruction.
We have Public Works Director Larry Seals to give us the update. So Larry, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. This project was going to consist of East Woodland reconstruction for about 525 feet that resulted from a water main break. When we got into it and started looking at the sewer had also had some displaced joints. When we got to the east end, and you'll see it here shortly in the video, this is just kind of the general location within the city. We've discovered several different things occurring right in this area. We're still trying to identify where 4 of the houses, I don't think this thing's showing up very good. 4 of the houses on the south side, closest to the drone, we're locating their sewers. They appear to come out back. It goes through a cross-country sewer that so far, the existing sewer on the left, we've been unable to get through all of that and determine where it ties in. And then below the junction, there's other areas we cannot get through either. This is proposed for storm on the right side. What it basically means is we're going to have to come back, expand this project to get in and make this sanitary functioning. So we're going to lengthen that project by at least 300 feet. We're in the process now of updating the numbers, looking at the revenue sources, and then coming back with a new scope and a new estimate as we put the plans together. This area drains into the Phase 8, probably be the Division 4 separation project. We're going to go ahead and separate why we have contracts in here on Green Street also, basically from the top of the hill down. So we'll have it to where we can just pick that up in future separations. I just wanted to kind of update council. We originally had planned on having that under contract by now for we could repair that damage from last year. We'll have to go in, we'll do just some surface dressing to try to smooth that part of the street up. It is extremely rough and allow the citizens to continue through that area without damaging their vehicles. But again, we'll come back with you with a new scope, new cost, and we'll go from there when we finally determine and finally get through all the sewers.
Any questions for Larry? Okay, thank you, Larry. Item 3.
Informational update on Iowa DOT-owned Ottumwa Street pedestrian bridge. Recommendation, provide an update for all city council members on the status of removal of the Iowa Department of Transportation-owned Ottumwa Street pedestrian bridge.
Move the recommendation as presented.
I'll let that play in the background as we go. On January 25th, 2020, the Ottumwa Street pedestrian bridge over Highway 149 was damaged when it was struck by an overheight load. IDOT has inspected and determined that extensive damage has occurred. During the damage review, it was determined the bridge needs additional approach repairs to meet ADA requirements. When reviewing the pedestrian traffic, it has been determined that the main pedestrian generator, the school, has been closed and the foot traffic does not support the reconstruction. Public Works does not object to the removal and would provide a written letter at a later date to the DOT. We just wanted everybody to have a visual overview. And again, this is something that is the responsibility of the Department of Transportation. And then you have all the financials and their letter attached to this.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
How will you plan to deal with the removal, considering that's a major highway and traffic? Will it be a nighttime or a?
One of the things they're going to do, and a little bit later on one of my items, I had put up just street projects that's going to occur this year. When the department is replacing Park Ave Bridge, which is the bridge just north of Woodland, that is scheduled for a hard close for approximately 3 weeks. During that time period, they plan on removing this too. This will be kind of limited, short time to tear it down and remove it to the sides. So they plan on using the same traffic control and the same window to do it. They're going to add it to the Park Ave Bridge as a change order, I believe, as far as their contractual side.
Okay. May be some inconvenience though for some people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Larry? Keep us posted, please, on that and give us a start date and end date when they get.
When we get hard dates from all of these projects, then we'll put out a notice.
Okay.
Review and accept the certified loan local government annual report for 2019 as submitted by the Ottumwa Historic Preservation Commission. Recommendation, authorize the mayor to sign the annual report and submit to the State Historic Preservation Office.
Good evening, Zach. You have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The City of Ottumwa was an early member of the State Historic Preservation Office's National Park Service Certified Local Government Program for historic preservation. Participation in that program requires that we have a historic preservation commission and that we submit annual reports. This annual report is the report that would allow us to continue to participate. It provides some updated information on who commission members are, some of the activities they've been doing over the course of the year, and just some demonstrations that we meet the minimum requirements for that program. The program entitles us to opportunities to have preferential treatment for some grant programs. And it also gives the city government an opportunity to weigh in on decisions to list properties on the National Register, as you all did when you weighed in on the Agassiz School nomination last month, which would be the first property on the south side of Ottumwa to be registered on the National Registry. It's also an opportunity with the report to have the Preservation Commission update the council on what they've been doing. They've been very active and we're excited about the work they're doing. And so I'm going to turn the microphone over to Dennis Wilhoit, the chair of the commission, to give that report.
Thank you and good evening. I am Dennis Wilhoit. I'm the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. Tonight in the gallery, Kara Galloway and John Olinger are also commission members. And then Mary Stewart and Rick Wotton, the other two commission members, weren't able to attend tonight, but they send their greetings, of course. And then I'd also take an opportunity to thank Zach, our staff liaison with the Historic Preservation Commission. His efficiency and attentiveness to our minutes and filling out forms and all of those items, those business items, is very much appreciated and done and executed with efficiency and done very well and in a timely manner. Just a few things, and thank you for this time to update you on the things that we've been doing. One of our biggest projects has been having district meetings in our residential historic districts. We have 7 historic districts in town. 4 of those are residential districts. We have the 5th Street Bluff, North Court District, the Vogel Place District, and then North Fellows District as well. We have, starting in October, had meetings in all of those districts, sent out letters. We had attendance that ranged from a half a dozen neighborhood people to 20. And our purpose of those meetings was to, first of all, make sure that people in the district knew that they were in an historic district, because we don't have anything that really designates those districts, which I'll get to in just a moment. And then to celebrate the reasons why we live in historic districts and what we can do as those districts, since we sort of have our neighborhoods already defined for us, what we can do to improve our districts. And we all know that historic districts are, that designation brings value to the district. Historic districts, the property values increase at a greater rate across the nation and also here in Iowa than other neighborhood districts do. And that's one of our selling points for our districts. And we want to share those opportunities because of, if you are a contributing element to the historic district, you are eligible for tax credits, the state historic tax credit, and individuals can take part in that as well. And those are positive things about what it means to live in a historic district. And we want to also be a catalyst to develop greater neighborhood in our districts. And the Vogel plea ongoing for several years, but had lost its oomph in the last several years. And now that came back this season. And we're talking about expanding that to all of our historic districts as a neighborhood project and to get people connected with one another. In relationship to the district, we've also been working on district signage because we have nothing to welcome our visitors, our tourists to town to say, this is an historic district and this is why it's important. And so we've modeled some signs on Iowa City, and we've had a local graphic designer develop signs for all of our 7 districts, including the Railroad District and the Greater 2nd Street District and the Cemetery District as well. And working with Larry Seals, we're working on getting those posts and the materials to get those signs placed, and also working with Bradley Grief at the Area 15 Regional Planning, because he's working on a wayfinding signage, and we want to have coordination with that as well. And hopefully those signs will be completely developed and installed by late spring, early summer, so that we can enjoy those. And an anecdotal piece of having signage and having historic districts is during one of our meetings, it so happened that one of our members had gone out on a Sunday afternoon and there were people walking around the neighborhood. She had a conversation with them, and they were folks from Des Moines. They choose a town to travel to on a lazy Sunday afternoon, and they visit and walk all of their historic districts in that city. And they were walking the North Fellows district that afternoon, and they had been to other districts in town. We think that that is a critical sign to show how important these districts are in bringing people to town. And we know that that's one of our goals economically. When people come to town, they need a place to eat. They need a place to buy some gas, those sorts of things. And so that was a fun and story to hear firsthand and have happen. And these signs are going to help guide people through our districts, and we're looking forward to getting those up and running. We also nominated the Dom House at the top of the Court Hill, across from the old Lincoln, where the old Lincoln School sat. Nominated it for the endangered properties list. It was listed, and I think that that is moving forward. And from what I understand, there's been interest expressed in that property and developing that property. So we certainly have our fingers crossed that good things are going to happen. Also, we have traditionally celebrated Historic Preservation Month with a trolley tour here in town. We did this last year in 2019 with a tour during a May weekend. We will do a similar project this May in celebration of Historic Preservation Month, and we will be partnering with the League of Women Voters in the celebration, the 100th anniversary of the celebration of the 19th Amendment. And we will be connecting stories, and they will be having a tea, and we will be doing some touring of our local strong women who have had a contribution to the city. And then, of course, we were proud to and happy to support the nomination of the former Agassiz School, and we're excited that that's on the south side, the first property to be nominated on the south side, and we look forward to identifying more districts and structures in that part of town as we go forward. We are, as I said, in looking forward, we are planning to, our last long-range plan was 1998. So it's time for us to develop a new strategic plan for the Historic Preservation Commission. And so we'll be going after some grant dollars with the State Historical Society to develop that and to identify properties and projects that the Historic Commission can move forward with. And we are also eager to be part of the larger comprehensive city plan and the role that historic preservation plays in city planning as the future comes. I would note, or have you note, that in the report that goes, that is being submitted and you're approving, there is a suggestion, and I know it's a difficult time to talk about money items, but I do make note that the State Historical Society does recommend that cities provide a line item budget for the Historical Preservation Commission. We do not have one in Ottumwa. Our money is raised through our trolley tours and any projects that we take on at any time in the future. If there were a line item budget, they recommend $750 as a minimum start. If there were that opportunity to include that in the city budget, it would certainly be welcomed, because much of what we do is accomplished through our volunteer hours. I would estimate that each of our commission members spends somewhere between 3 to 5 hours a month between meetings and preparation for meetings toward the betterment of the Historic Preservation Commission. So that's about 25 hours a month in volunteer work from your citizens. And we also take on some personal expense as well. We, in order to save what little money we do have, we're required to have continuing education in historic preservation. We take that expense on ourselves personally, as well as in our district meetings, the beverages and the food that we provided in order to provide some hospitality. Those were personal outlays for us. And I believe, other than you have a very active commission, has formed. We're excited about historic preservation in Ottumwa. We are excited to share with our residents the historic tax credit program and the idea that restoration, historic preservation is a green process because you're working with something that already exists instead of building something very new, and how it is a catalyst for tourism and works in conjunction with what the Convention and Visitors Bureau is doing. So I thank you tonight for the time to share with you what we've been up to.
Thank you very much.
You are
Dennis.
welcome.
I think I need a motion for the approval of this report. So is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Ward Street Bridge Replacement Project.
This is a public hearing, so Larry, you have the floor.
The project consists of replacing a bridge over Jefferson drainage ditch on Ward Street with a twin 10-by-6 reinforced concrete box culvert. Additional work will include replacing a sanitary sewer manhole, lowering a water main, and rerouting storm sewer to an outlet in the culvert. The city has been awarded an 80/20 HBP grant not to exceed $352,160 with CIP as the local match. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on March 18th, 2020 at 2 p.m. The bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at the City Council meeting on March 24th, 2020, or at a later date determined by staff. The estimated cost is $408,505.40.
This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now's the time to step forward. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Resolution number 42, 2020, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Ward Street Bridge Replacement Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 42, 2020.
Is there a recommendation as presented?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 36, 2020, approve a 2-year agreement with Heartland Humane Society to provide animal care services for the stray dogs and cats the city's police department picks up, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement on behalf of the city. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 36, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Joni.
Thank you, Your Honor and council members. This is an extension of a 2-year agreement between the city and Heartland Humane Society to provide animal care services for the stray dogs and cats that are picked up by our city's police department. That means that Heartland Humane Society is going to be our shelter. We have been cooperating with them for the last 2.5 years, working through any potential problems as a city shelter. We'll continue to work with Pipestone Veterinary Services for the care of those animals that are injured, deemed aggressive, or designated as dangerous under the city code. The fees are set out in the agreement, which I provided to each of you. Daily care fees will rise $1 each day. The assessment, a parvo vaccination, and a flea treatment will increase by $5, and the rabies vaccination will increase by $5. The owner claiming the animal would pay those fees directly to the city or to Heartland, and if no owner claims the animal during the impoundment period, the animal would then be released to Heartland with no fees paid by the city for those animal care services. This agreement would benefit the city as well as Heartland, which would no longer be required to pay the fees to the city to take control of the animal. And I appreciate the work of our police department, Jeff Williams and Tom McAndrew. We met recently with Shelley Harvey and a couple members of their board, as well as their new shelter manager just recently. And we had a good discussion, and hopefully we'll work together to further animal care in our community. Be glad to answer any questions.
For Joni? Bob?
Yeah, Joni, when you made reference to the city shelter, the city does not own the shelter, right?
Absolutely not. We just have a participation agreement with them, and we've designated them as our shelter. So animals, other than those animals deemed such that we can't take them to the shelter, all other animals will be taken there. And that's a change because it used to be all of the animals went to Pipestone.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Resolution number 37, 2020, authorize the city of Ottumwa to apply for a USDA Rural Business Development Grant through Area 15 Regional Planning Commission for the development of right-of-way at 2858 North Court Street in Ottumwa, Iowa. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 37, 2020.
Is there a motion? Move the recommendation as presented. Second? Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mark. Now we can have some discussion. Joni, you can start this, and then I see you have a person to help you with explanation, so go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor, and council members. This project was brought to you at the last council meeting, and council did approve. GoPIP is in the process of purchasing at their cost approximately 0.034 acres of ground next to the Armory on North Court. And this will be used to improve, they will donate that property to the city, and council voted to approve that donation when the transfer's completed. And then at that point, we will be working on a right-of-way project to improve maneuverability for access to the city's industrial park. At the time, we had requested permission to proceed with the USDA grant. We were unclear. Unfortunately, we didn't have much notice of the grant deadline. We thought it was in April, but it turned out to be in March. So we worked closely with Chris Kukla, and I appreciate his help and his assistance on this through regional planning. He helped prepare a grant application to the USDA. We also worked closely with John Farrell with the USDA, and he suggested that even though we didn't have council approval at the time to proceed with the grant, to go ahead and proceed with it and get council, since it was due yesterday, we would get council approval today to proceed with that. And it would be a retroactive approval of that grant submission that occurred. And we really appreciate Chris working with us on that. We have a engineer's cost of $142,000 plus. We will not be proceeding in the event if the USDA does not award us a grant. It's my understanding there's no funding to be able to proceed, and we'll probably look for other grant opportunities down the road. So that's a little bit of information. Sharon Stroh with the former Ottumwa Economic Development Corporation, now GoPIP, is here, and she can answer some of your questions as well.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple of points of clarification, if I may. There was never a local match requirement on this particular grant. USDA was clear, however, that there can be additional points scored for having such a contribution. The city of Ottumwa and its partners at Area 15 and GoPIP have chosen not to provide additional financial resources at this time. We think the strength of the grant proposal can stand on its own for the $142,347. The other piece of it is USDA officials actually sanctioned Ottumwa's application with the understanding that if council does not ratify it tonight, Ottumwa would just simply withdraw the proposal. There's no cloak and dagger going on here. It just, if there's no vote to move forward, then we just withdraw the proposal and no harm, no foul. If I might just add a little piece of narrative, at its core, this is really just an extension of the site certification at Helgerson Flats. If you may remember, it's been a little while ago, but Partners has invested nearly $160,000 towards the certification of Helgerson Flats since it started this project in 2017. And that included a traffic impact study, which was presented to City Council on August 21st of 2018. So it's been a little while ago. I know you've slept since then. Options revealed at that time were either too expensive or not warranted by Iowa Department of Transportation evaluation. So curb modification really is the least invasive and the least expensive of all the methods that have been evaluated since that time. I think that bodes well for us as a community. That's really all I have to say, but if there are any questions, I will certainly help try and bring clarity.
Are there any questions? Mark?
I guess I don't have any questions. I just have a quick statement to make about this. First of all, I really believe in this project. I think that it's going to do a lot to make that area safer. But what I have the issue with is having a retroactive date on this. I know that this was an issue of contention at the last meeting, and one of the council people actually mentioned having a special meeting so we wouldn't be put in this position. So I just, for myself, as much as I believe in this project, I couldn't in good conscience support a retroactive signature on this.
Any other comments or questions for Sharon? Okay, hearing none, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Abstain.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
No.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
So the motion does pass 3-1-1 with one extension. So,
Thank you all.
thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Joni. Okay, item 3.
Resolution number 40, 2020, award Ottumwa Street reconstruction project to DC Concrete and Construction LLC of Dowds, Iowa, in the amount of $249,410. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 40, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry, you have the floor.
This project consists of 430 feet of full-width, full-depth PCC reconstruction, including water main replacement and relocation. The project includes the installation of 4 intakes and a separate storm line that will connect into the Phase 4 sewer separation project. This section of Ottumwa Street is the primary access to the Washington apartment complex. The developer for Washington Apartments, TWG Development, has contributed $45,000 for reconstruction. Ottumwa Water Works will reimburse the city for the cost of the water main installation. As bid amounts for the water main install was $55,573. Bids were received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on February 26, 2020 at 2 p.m. 19 sets of plans were either sent out or downloaded from the city website, and 3 bids were received. The low bidder is DC Concrete and Construction of Dowds, Iowa, in the amount of $249,410. The remaining balance between the developer funds and the water main install was CIP funds.
Are there any questions for Larry on this? If you've been up that way, you know we need to do that street badly. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Resolution number 41, 2020, authorizing the mayor to execute Iowa DOT pre-construction agreement number 2020-694 for PCC pavement grade and new at the US Highway 34 and Iowa 149 intersection in Ottumwa. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 41, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
IDOT pre-construction agreement authorizes IDOT to design, let, and inspect construction for a PCC pavement grade and new turn lanes at Iowa 149 intersection in Ottumwa, which will include relocation of existing traffic signals. US 34 through traffic will be maintained during construction. The project adds an acceleration lane on Highway 34 eastbound at 149, and we have a drone flight that we inserted what they're doing for construction. It will also pave the southbound quadrant shoulder area and install an edge rut widening along the start of the taper lane on the southbound lane of 149. And then we thought we'd try to do a visual here because it's hard to do the concept. So there's the edge rut treatment that they're installing. One of the other things that will happen, they'll redesign or recalculate the traffic signal timing. The no right turn on red will be eliminated when it opens back up. Starting basically at this traffic signal on the lower center part of the screen, that signal arm and mask arm will be moved back. The lane will start at that radius point and extend approximately as depicted on this aerial. What that basically does is give you an acceleration lane because that's where they're encountering some of their accidents for people that go ahead and turn right on red and through traffic ends up catching up with them. This is more for a maintenance item. They're just going to pave that apron area so they don't have to maintain that with rutting.
Very good. Thank you. Helps to have the visual.
One of the things I wanted to try to add was we've got a lot of projects this year. Some of them is our projects. Some of them are the DOT. The first one, I'll just start with the DOT project, the Park Ave Bridge replacement. And again, I'm going to put together a list of when we have it, the actual start dates, the length of the closures and the detour routes, and I'll get that to the council. We'll have Alta Vista. It'll be starting, I believe, 1st of April, depending on material delivery. We've got some public meetings that we are in the process of setting up for all these projects. Woodland Ave will be later in the year once the plans are completed. And again, the Ottumwa pedestrian bridge on 149, Ottumwa Street, and then Main Street reconstruction is scheduled to start on the 9th of this month. Mid-America and Portson will be in on Monday to start that project. We're still unclear because of in the blue is the separation project and all the street work that's associated with the separation. We have a phasing plan in our construction documents, but that could change depending on who the bidder ultimately is. Milner Street, that'll be another one depending on which half they start on. We have that in 2 phases over 2 construction seasons. We want to make sure that the contractor sees it the same. That'll be coming back for award at the next council meeting. And then the Ward Street culvert. Probably the biggest project that's going to happen this summer is 63 South reconstruction, which basically starts at the roundabout south to River Road. The detour route is Madison to Vine and out. We don't have a start date yet. I am attending a meeting Thursday that should give me that information that I can bring back to council. So it's going to be a very, very busy construction season for us.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
I think it's going to be really important, Larry, to work closely with our media and help them to get those dates and keep them aware of it so that people can make some alternate routes when they are driving. Okay, item J on our agenda, if there's anyone in the audience that wants to speak to an item not on the agenda, we have a Sid Kuman.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening.
Council. My name is Sid Koyman. I live on 716 East Highland Avenue here in Ottumwa. I'd I speak in behalf of the police and fire department. I pay $2,500 a year in taxes. I'm a veteran, so I get a pretty good discount. There are 27 houses on my street. I would suppose that that street generates $67,000 plus a year in property tax for the city. I would tell you that based on my age, I get very little back from those taxes. My street is a mess. The street around the corner, Elm Street, has a sinkhole in it that's blocked off, and I'm sure it's going to be fixed, although I didn't see it tonight. The two things that stand out in my mind from Ottumwa are the police department and the fire department. On two separate occasions, they have come to my home when there were very difficult times in my life. In both times, these employees of your city acted extremely professional. They helped me out. They helped my family out in a time of great trial. And I appreciate them very, very much. I would recommend to you that of all the things you have to spend money on, and I understand there are a lot, the police and the fire department are the two most important things in this city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. I didn't see any others. Are there any other slips in the basket or anybody else? Okay. If they're not, let's move on to communications then. I want to thank council. I have received back the committee assignments and we'll be getting that changed and updated out to you in your packets. Item 2, I want to remind everybody, both here in the council chambers as well as the viewing audience, that Saturday we have the Family Fest at Bridgeview. Starts at 10 o'clock. And at 10:30 in the morning, there will be a program about One Ottumwa. And I think it's a great effort between the city, the schools, Go Pip, all the different organizations to share some of the positive things that are happening in our community and some of the good things that are going on in our school system too. And one of the other items on my list is that I want the council to work with Phil to get a date so we can get the city retreat scheduled and give him some ideas when you're available. And we really want to work with him on that. And in that context, we'll be talking about a couple of items that I think are of importance to help give our new administrator a sense of, we really want him to be here and stay here. I think he's a great fit and is off to a good start. It's kind of like drinking from a fire hose right now, though, in terms of catching up with everything, but really off to a good start. So those are my comments. Chris Cobbler is not in the audience, is he? I don't see him. We did receive a great award from the Iowa Pavement and Concrete Association for our airport runway, and we're going to be writing that up for a local magazine article. We have one of the longest runways in the state, and the pilots that have flown in there love it because it's got a grooved pavement and very easy to steer a fast-moving jet when there's rain or snow or ice on it. So we're really pleased about that, and Chris has done a lot of hard work on that. Are there any other questions, comments, or suggestions from the council? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you and good night.